Hello, my name is Austin Belzer, and welcome back to the Austin Media Podcast. Before we get into the main show, I have to tell you how you can support my work. The way I find my work, whether it be a review of a movie I rented or paying for Zoom, my Patreon is the way you can help offset those costs. Patrons like Ambula Beulah, Brian Scuttle, David Walters, Joseph Davis of Sip Pop, Matthew Simpson of Awesome Friday, Tom Blackburn, and more help make episodes like this possible. So thank you to all of my lovely patrons out there. Beyond financial support, you can get some pretty sweet perks. Whether you're into 48-hour early access to my reviews and this podcast, monthly surveys, giving direct feedback, commentaries, and just about everything in between, consider becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month at patreon.com/austinbmedia. You can also save 16% if you decide to subscribe annually. On top of that, if you're not ready to subscribe, you can get a 7-day free trial on every tier I offer. With that said, let's get to the show. Hello, my name is Austin Belzer, and welcome back to the Austin B Media Podcast. Today, in this episode, I'll be discussing a decision to leave with my guest, Seth Vargas, co-host of the Movie Friends podcast and one of the fellow members of the International Film Society Critics, one of the, I think, three groups I'm in. I'm in Film Independent, OFTA, Online Film and Television Association, and IFSC. Welcome to the podcast. Can you start by telling our listeners or watchers or wherever a bit about yourself and your work?
Hey, thank you very much for having me. It's not much to me, really. I love movies. I love Friends. And so it was a pretty easy thing to put together when we decided to start a show. The show that I run with my friend Michelle, who has been a podcaster for probably about 12 years now, but she primarily focuses on television. And when we decided to start the show, the gist of it is that I'm introducing her to movies. Each month we have a different theme, and then we pick 4 or 5 movies. We do that theme, and for the most part, stuff that she's never seen before. And we just try to approach it from a place of like learning, where if she doesn't love a movie, we don't fight about it because we think it's better to be friends than to be right, quote unquote. Yeah.
Yes. Do your patrons pick those topics, or do you just have a list like I do, where it's here are the things I have on my radar?
Yeah. I try to pick movies that kind of cover a genre. Like, for example, this month for October, instead of just doing horror movies, we did what we called Franktober, where we focused on films that explore the themes of Frankenstein. So we started out with Frankenstein from 1931, but then we went to Edward Scissorhands. We
Right.
did Young Frankenstein, and then we're finishing the month with Rocky Horror Picture Show. So we try to incorporate different genres. We try to do our best to incorporate films made in other countries, not just say, oh, these are the 4 highest rated on IMDb or Letterboxd for this genre, because I'm trying to give her like a well-rounded experience.
Yeah, I feel like if somebody just went through the top 250 of Letterboxd, it would be chaos. It would just be
Yeah.
Spider-Verse, Godfather. That you'd have emotional and tone whiplash.
Yeah.
Which is why I have probably only watched like 13% of the top 250 or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, there's a lot of great stuff, both of those lists that I just mentioned, but I try to curate it more towards my tastes, but also her tastes.
Yeah, because if you start talking about a Kurosawa movie and she's just absolutely not,
Yeah.
it's not going to be a good podcast episode. But yeah, and I guess in that vein, do you have any recommendation for before we get into the main discussion on the movie, show, game, or album that you're listening to?
Hey, so I will always recommend the one season of the greatest TV show that has ever been made, Freaks and Geeks, currently
Okay.
streaming on Hulu. If you haven't experienced it, you absolutely need to. That movie, I'm sorry, that show is famous for having every person who would go on to be famous over the next 10 years. Seth Rogen, James Franco, Linda Cardellini, even Shia LaBeouf makes an appearance in an episode. It's pretty crazy. Ben Foster is in it, I think 2 or 3 episodes. So yeah, that's always whenever someone says, what should I watch? That's usually one of the first things that I say. And then you mentioned Kurosawa. A different Kurosawa made a film called Cure,
Okay, yeah.
1997. Yeah, Japanese horror film. It's just one of the best. And this whole month, whenever anyone is asking for recommendations for what to watch, I've just been hammering Cure out there. I want as many people as possible to see it because to me, I love genre and I love genre bending, blurring the lines between what is and what isn't, because anything that makes us uncomfortable and anything that makes us think outside the box, I think is something that should be experienced. And Cure for me is like one of the boundary lines of horror where yes, you have a little bit of gore, but it disturbs you in a way that it's hard to communicate. And to me, it's if I had to make a list of like 10 essential horror films, Cure would be near the top.
Yeah, I think I haven't seen it,
Hmm.
full disclosure. So like my horror list would be trash because I think my first exposure to horror was seeing Saw.
Oh, sure.
So
Hey,
that's just
Saw's good. That's
automatically,
okay.
yeah. And I guess The Stepfather, although that's not technically horror, that's more psychological thriller, but the one from like 2009 or
Okay,
2008,
sure. Yeah.
because I think that works better going back. Although the PS3 references are really interesting. But I actually have an not so out there, but like out there in the way I discovered it
Okay.
recommendation. I was hanging out with some neighbor friends of mine. We were having dinner together, and they're like, "Hey, have you seen Little Shop of Horrors?" And obviously, I have.
Yeah.
I was in theater class. That's like quintessential to theater class. And if your theater class isn't showing that, they should be. Or maybe like the Tragedy of Macbeth, the new one, is pretty good.
Sure, sure.
But they were talking about the I think it was like 1980s, the Steve Martin, like where they had Steve Martin, Rick Moranis,
Yeah.
but we didn't have not it's not HBO Max anymore. Max is what that version's on.
Hmm.
And I was like, I'm not spending $15 to watch that version.
Sure, sure.
And another version of the same movie popped up. It was a different interpretation. It's by Roger Corman.
Yes,
Um,
Roger Corman's Little Shop of Horrors. Yeah.
it's so interesting because it's so not a musical at
Yeah.
all.
Hmm.
It's narrated by a hard-boiled cop that shows up 2 or 3 times throughout the movie, and it's so interesting because it you think about adapting Little Shop of Horrors, and you don't think that, like, straight line, "Hey, here's what life on Skid Row's here's what
Hmm.
it would actually be like," instead of, "Oh, hey, everyone's singing and dancing." Uh,
Yep.
and has a underrated, I think, performance from Jack Nicholson, a very
Yeah.
young
That's
Jack Nicholson.
that's usually the one thing that people do remember from Corman's version. It's good, but considering the version that we get, like when we look at the source material and then what we get in the musical version, there's quite a leap in entertainment value, I would say.
Yeah, because
But hey,
it's
no
like
shade to Roger Corman. Corman's
no
great.
shade. Yeah, it's a good interpretation. I just think if somebody had shown me that in theater class, I would have been like, why do people like this
Hmm.
musical? But I actually really liked the Bushnick character, the owner of the shop. Is interesting and also very humorous in a very dark way. But yeah, I'd recommend that. You have to rent it for $3, but it's $3.
Sure.
Um,
Hey, when I was a kid, you had to rent everything for more than $3. You had no choice.
yeah, $50 for the VHS tape or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I recommend that. Although I will say, if you're at all like, it has some color banding issues. Like it's
Hmm.
very clear that it was shot in black and white and converted to color later.
Hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. If you have hang up on that, like just let them go and watch it
Yeah. Yeah.
because you can definitely tell it's made for $5 in a dream. Uh,
Hey, look, I think as a movie lover, you should be able to turn off anything that a movie could have in poor quality, whether that's sound, if you're going to get into the Giallo films, of the 70s and early 80s from Italy. You have to let go bad sound and ADR and acting. I think you should be able to, just as much as we suspend our disbelief when we enter into a story, we should also suspend like anything, because a good movie can possess really bad qualities and still be a good movie. So,
Yeah, Christopher Nolan's following suffers
mhm.
the same issues. Really
Nolan
bad
is
ADR.
maybe my second favorite Christopher Nolan movie of all of his
Oh,
films.
interesting.
Yeah, it's great. I
I think
always say,
Oppenheimer's there.
yeah, Oppenheimer is good. Yeah, that was
But
good.
recency bias.
Yeah, I always say I would love to live in a world where Nolan stayed like making these street level movies like Following or Memento, where the budget and the effects don't get in the way of the clever story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, who knows? If he could do that now, if he could just say, I'm going to make a movie for $10 million, I think it would be pretty amazing.
Yeah, and yeah, I would definitely prefer that other than the marketing machine that's go experience like this nuclear explosion. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. I think all that, when we're told something and then we're given something different, all it can do is set you up for disappointment. And but yeah, he could make a movie in secret, drop it on Netflix, and it would be the most watched thing immediately. So he doesn't, at this point, he doesn't need all of that marketing nonsense.
Yeah, and M. Night Shyamalan's a great example of it, I
Hmm.
think, because Knock at the Cabin came out and people were like, yes, we want to see that. Yes, please,
Sure.
more. And he just M. Night Shyamalan just hides away for a year and then he's, hey, I got a new movie. Here you go.
Hmm. Yep.
But with that said, we're not here to talk about Oppenheimer, Following, anything like that. We're here to talk about Decision to Leave.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's just get into it. I know earlier before we started recording, you talked about seeing Decision to Leave at Alamo Drafthouse. So
Yeah.
I would love to hear about that.
Yeah, it was cool. I did a day at the movies with my friend. We saw three movies in theaters: Tar, Decision to Leave, and for the life of me, I can't remember what the third one is, unfortunately. If I went back and looked at what was out that weekend, I probably would be able to tell you. But we saw Tar and Decision to Leave at the Alamo Drafthouse in New York City, the financial district one. And it was my first time at a draft house. It was super cool. I didn't really eat or drink anything. I think we got popcorn,
Really?
maybe. Yeah, because it was like, my thing is, hey, I'm in New York City. I'm not going to eat food at a movie theater. I'm going to go when the movie's over, in between movies, and go eat at an actual place. Because even if I get dollar slices, it's going to be better than a movie theater.
Yeah, fair.
But what I was most appreciative of at that showing was they had a little presentation from Park Chan Wook where he explained, he was like, I wanted to make a movie that was both like a police thriller and a romantic comedy. And I wanted to blur the lines so that you didn't know which one you were seeing.
Mhm.
And he said that, and I was like, oh, okay, all right. Because I'm a big believer in not watching trailers or previews if I know it's a movie I'm going to
Got it.
see. If not to throw shade at this movie, but like the Super Mario Brothers movie, right? I'm going to go see that with my kids, but I'm not like, oh, no, I don't want to know anything. I pretty much know what I'm going to be getting with the Super Mario Brothers movie. But with like Killers of the Flower Moon that just came out, I didn't watch any trailers, anything like that. And the next Park Chan Wook movie, definitely. Boy and the Heron, I have seen nothing from. I'm going into that completely blind. So I was glad that he explained that, because as the movie was going, I was like, okay, if I didn't know what he had said, I would be very confused with the tone of this movie.
Yeah, I definitely got that my first time around because
Hmm.
uh, I didn't have that explanation, so I just went into it dry. I maybe saw a trailer,
Hmm.
um, maybe like when Mubi acquired it, I believe.
Yeah.
I think I saw that trailer because I always like seeing movies trailers because they're always like they don't show a lot. They
Yeah.
just like, here's the premise, and it's coming to movie at this date. Um, like the How to Have Sex trailer was great, but yeah, I didn't have that, so I was like, oh, what am I getting here? Uh, Especially since I had not seen a Park Chan Wook film
Oh, this was
prior
your
to this.
first one?
Yeah,
Oh man. Okay.
yeah. So I didn't have any expectation for what was going on. I just knew people were talking about it, so I was like, okay, I'll watch it. I can't remember if this was a Spirit Awards nominee movie or if I went and saw this myself. But
Okay.
for whatever reason, I was like, yeah, I gotta go see this movie, whatever it takes. I think I probably streamed it on Mubi. It's been like a year almost to the day. I would love to see the Criterion Collection because I know they just released that like this week as of recording. I'd be interested to see if that video's on there.
After seeing this, have you seen any of his other movies yet?
No, the plan was because I heard Neon acquired just not to believe Old Boy remastered. So I'm
Yes. Yeah.
waiting for that one to come
Okay. All
out
right.
for rent
All
because
right.
yeah, because I'm just like, okay, old I I live in such a rural area that I knew I wasn't gonna get Old Boy remastered.
Sure.
I-
Sure.
I'm actually surprised we got Killers of the Flower Moon given its subject nature
Hmm.
and the political landscape of where I live. And but yeah, I gotta wait for that to become available for rent. I checked, I believe yesterday, and it's still not available for rent. I either have to buy it or wait for the Blu-ray or whenever it becomes available for rent. But
You are in for some like life-changing stuff.
yeah, I definitely know it's inspirations because I know a lot of people were talking about when Daredevil season one came out, the hallway
Yep.
fight in that
Yep.
the director said was directly inspired by Old Boy.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, Old Boy, but also The Handmaiden. He has another one called JSA.
Okay.
Stoker is one that just recently came to my. I've seen it and I've like almost watched it a few times, but some people that I like really trust recently said it's like one of the best movies they've ever seen. But yeah, Park
Wow.
Chan Wook is he's a guy that no matter what, I'm gonna see what he's putting out, definitely. And yeah, I don't know if I made it sound like I didn't like this movie on my first viewing. I did, I really did. I was just watching it again last night in preparation to record this. All of the humor struck me so much harder than it did on my first watch because I was like, oh, this movie is actually funny the whole way through, pretty much. And
Yeah.
because I knew what to expect from the story, I was more relaxed. And so I think I took the humor better.
Yeah, I think it's definitely when it's I think it's when I saw it, I think I definitely noted that I was just like, man, I'm putting too much stock into every single word and not
Mm.
analyzing it way too much. So yeah, I'm definitely I want to see it like a third time. I
Hmm.
just want to do a like one straight week of watching and see how that changes over time.
Sure.
Maybe when Old Boy comes out for rent, I'll do like Old Boy, Handmaiden, Stoker, or I guess would Stoker come after this?
No, Stoker was before Decision to Leave. This is his
Okay,
most recent. Yeah.
yeah, so just 4 days of Bang Bang.
Yeah, that's gonna be an intense week emotionally for you.
Yeah, but I guess with that said, we're already hinting at it. But what were your overall thoughts on the movie? Especially, how did it change the second time around?
So my overall thoughts are, as I previously mentioned, talking about Cure, I love when a movie surprises me. I love when we take a genre and we mash it up with another genre. When you've seen a lot of movies and you see a movie that really sticks to the rules,
Hmm.
it can be good and you can I can accept its quality and I can appreciate what it is. But when a movie surprises me, that is when I'm really excited. And it's you sit up and you're alert and it just grabs you in a different way than just, okay, I see the 3 act structure at work here. And I see in this one, I really didn't know what to expect, especially when we hit the kind of midway point of
Yeah.
the second husband now. I think I know what this is. I think, okay, this is a police procedural about a woman who seems very suspicious. I don't know if she's that suspicious. But then when it happens again, you're like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
I thought the whole movie was going to be just on the first case. And why wouldn't you think that? You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't start this movie out thinking, oh, they'll both move to a new town and there will be a new husband and it'll all happen all over again. So yeah, that really threw me for a loop. I know that this is really silly, but this movie has something that I'd never seen before, and it tickled me so much when I first saw it. And that is the chainmail glove that he uses to disarm.
Yeah. So he just
Yeah.
has that at the
Yeah, maybe he just always has that in his pocket. And I waited for it to come back around. Never comes back around, but it was just so cool and interesting. And I was like, man, I love this moment. Even last night watching it, I was like, oh yeah, I know. I know. This movie also has awesome transitions. Sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes the camera will change right on the last line of a monologue or a conversation. And so sometimes the last line of that conversation will set us up for the mood of the scene that we find ourselves in. Sometimes it won't. There's a great dissolve right at the end where we literally see him running into her hand, which is
Yeah.
it's very on the nose, but for its beauty and its execution, for kind of the high drama of what this story is, I loved it. I was like, oh, it looks really cool. And it's a wonderful, just a final note because we don't get a final moment between the two of them. She's just lost to him forever. And yeah, I really love that. And like I already said, this movie's so funny. It's so funny. Both of his partners are really funny in their own way. His second partner, I wanted so much more of her. Like, I was like, please talk. Like, every line delivery when he's in the pool and we see her in the shot in the distance behind him and she's like scampering down and like crawling down slowly
Yeah.
to get down into the pool. Yeah, real big fan for sure.
Yeah. And I yeah, I have to echo all of that. It's so inventive in
Mhm.
ways that you don't realize even after the first viewing, that you're just like, speaking about transitions, I think my favorite one, I can't remember I if this is the exact transition shot, but I think there's like a cup of coffee and we go into an extreme close up and then it turns into something else, like
Mm.
a moon or something like that.
There's a lot of clever at one point when we see the dead husband with his head to the side, that turns into the inspector's head turned at exactly the same angle. And it's cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, I yeah, it's so cool. I think that's a great way to summarize this movie. It's just so cool. And I know you said this earlier, but it does surprise me in very many ways, and especially
Mhm.
when it came out, or at least when I watched it for the first time, it was one of those movies where I'm like, "Oh, this is a movie that's gonna make that impact on
Mhm.
me," that just because I don't know about you, but when you say you watch a lot of movies, when you review a lot of movies too, you tend to get this disillusioned factor to you, and when you can come along with a movie where it's like, "This is so much better than I actually thought it was going to be."
Mm.
It's nice and refreshing that that it just lifts your spirits for the entire day because you're like, finally, not like a formulaic thing that I
Hmm.
have to like struggle to get through or something like that. Because there are those where I'm like, this movie, because it would be
Hmm.
so horribly bad. But yeah, I feel that. But yeah, I guess talking about more of the technical side of it, I know we already talked about Park Chan Wook before, but I want to talk specifically about the direction of the
Sure.
movie. You know, you've watched more movies of his than I have, so I guess how does this compare to his other movies? You talked about Stoker, Old Boy, Handmaiden, and what? How does this differentiate itself and make it just so much makes itself stand out amongst that?
Sure. What I will say is all of his movies definitely have humor, and I wouldn't call any of his movies that I have seen, I wouldn't call them formulaic. They do feel fresh. Now, this is coming from an American who grew up in New York, who has seen I've seen Korean films, but I'm not a Korean film expert. And so perhaps to someone living in South Korea, they're like, he's fine. I like how I feel about Steven Spielberg. I'm like, yeah, he's fine. It's okay. Jurassic Park, yeah, that's a
Yeah,
fine movie. Okay.
Fableman's good.
Sure.
Once.
Sure, whatever. But so to me, I do feel more engaged. I do feel like my brain is lit up in different ways from watching his movies. But as far as this one, it does seem to be it just seems like he's having more fun. I know that we end in a pretty tragic place.
Mhm.
I'm thinking of the scene where she first lifts up her skirt to show him the cuts on her leg. And he's, I'll get a female detective. And she's, yeah, it's okay. And so then the female detective walks in the room as he's like kneeling down, like taking a
Yeah,
taking a picture of her leg. It just feels like he's having a lot more fun. And like we were mentioning, like the transition shots, it still looks beautiful. Another shot that I'm not a big fan of like hyperbole, but when I tell you, like, my jaw dropped when they're up on the mountain and she has the headlamp and he looks at her and you can't really make her out. You just see this like light looking at him and you can see the outline. I was like, dude, they hold it for several seconds, but I was like, I could have watched that for a full minute just looking at that. So it does seem like someone who he knows the form, he knows the trade of making films, and at this point he's having fun with it.
yeah, and he's really, I think, in terms of the editing, he's really trying to hold back yet and say because you talked about that moment where we hold on it for a few seconds. That's a moment where professionally, I'm thinking, "Oh, what is he doing?
Hmm.
Why is this important?" But then
Hmm.
you sit with it a few more seconds, and then it clicks.
Yeah, this movie is also very patient. Like I said, as you're watching it, you have no indication of where this story is going, and you don't realize that you're watching like act one of a two-act movie.
Yeah,
And I would credit that to their patience in letting the story tell itself, not being in a rush to introduce the real characters or the real story. The whole thing is the real story.
yeah, and it really doesn't even try to say to spoon feed you that's happening. It just
Hmm.
says, "Hey, hold with us. It's gonna be a long ride, but you'll love it."
Hmm.
Um,
Oh, I mean, in terms of not spoon feeding us, the next time that we see Tane Wei after she's cleared and he discovers that she actually probably did it and he leaves her in the apartment, she's getting slapped around by a dude we've never seen before in a place we've never seen before. She takes a wig off and we're like, wait, he's yelling about he's yelling about his mother is
mhm.
sick, and we're like, is this one of the grannies that she's? What are we talking about?
Yeah,
We're just thrown into this whole other storyline, and we have no. He's yelling. the guy's yelling about her husband. And we're like, her husband's dead. What are you talking about? And confusing the audience for a few minutes doesn't really matter because, again, it's a mystery and we're playing on the mystery idea. And it's great. It's masterful. Sometimes when a movie pulls the rug out from the audience does not enjoy it, they don't appreciate that. But here
Yeah.
it works really well.
Yeah, because I think the thing I appreciated most is that it places you in the detective's experiences. Is he's confused too, so you're just
Hmm.
along the ride with them.
Hmm.
And no, people do not like when it sometimes when the rug is pulled underneath them.
Hmm.
Looking at you, Snoke.
Yeah.
But
Oh, well, that's a conversation for another time. But
yeah, that's a
that's
9-hour
one
podcast.
that's one thing that I actually loved very much. But yeah.
Yeah, that's maybe a Patreon exclusive hours of us talking about it. But getting back to Decision to Leave, I thought it is that embroiling of 2 different genres. It's
Hmm.
not necessarily a romantic comedy, more of a romantic drama mixed with neo-noir elements, where you even experience the meet cute, and you talked about that scene with "Oh, you can examine my legs, it's fine." It is played like, "Oh, are what's about to happen right now? Is this allowed?" And just it brings up all these moral questions, but also you also wanna see where it goes. To that, I have to give, huge credit to the performances as well.
Yeah.
What did you think of those performances?
The two, I would have to say, my favorite performance is his second partner, definitely.
Mhm.
Oh, that's just like a fan favorite. It's not the best. It's just I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so drawn into this. But Park Hae Il and Tain Wei, they're really good. I was not as taken with Tain Wei as everyone was. Everyone was like, ah, this is the best actress performance and she
Yeah.
should win all these awards. And no, she's great. I think it's great. But I definitely was more with Park Hae Il in this one. Like, he's pathetic in a way. You have this guy who can't sleep, right? And he can't sleep because he has these unsolved crimes. And so he does these stakeouts, but he's also purposefully, we know that they have a weekend marriage, like his wife mentioned, and he doesn't hate his wife, but he's also not really clamoring to be with her. He comes across this woman and just every part of his life kind of unravels. And I don't think that's because the power of her personality or magnetism. I think that's because this is a guy who is primed to unravel. Sleep
Yeah.
deprivation will do a lot to your judgment
Yes.
and to your personality. And he gets to watch her while he's on the job. He gets to combine these two areas of his life where with his wife, when he's with her, he can't be a detective. He's in a different district. He like
Yeah.
literally can't do his job. And so this woman comes into his life where now he's watching her in two ways. The way in which he's watching her is it's dual. He's doing it for his job, but he's also interested in her. So I love when we get like a pathetic guy to follow around. And I don't say that to say that he's not nice, to say that he's not capable. He isn't strong in a lot of ways. And I love that scene in the middle where he does realize, oh, yeah, she did this. And he doesn't say, I know that you did it, and I bought Granny another phone, and I'm going to help you destroy this one, and now we can be together. He just says it. He's completely defeated. He's undone and walks away. He just leaves her. Like, he doesn't even have the faculties to, I don't know. I don't know how to say this. Like, he doesn't have the wherewithal to meet her on the level where she is and where he wants to meet her romantically because he's undone. And the fact that he has tampered with evidence and covered up a murder. And we see that his wife was the youngest ever nuclear reactor manager. We know that he was the youngest ever inspector. And so these are clearly a couple who are like type A.
Yeah.
They're go-getters, they're achievers, and he has just he's let his marriage fall apart because of her. He's let his career fall apart because of her, his own personal character and morals. And I love it. I love to see it.
Yeah, I think that's my read on it too. And I will say 2022 was the year for wimpy guys in movies.
Sure.
I think no, Drive My Car was 2021, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay. But yeah, I'm of a similar read. Gosh, I will say that what's her name? Tang Wei, I think her performance kind of leans way to melodrama at some points.
Hmm.
But I actually think I have an alternate theory for why he was interested in her from the
Okay.
beginning. I think because I think logically, this is just where my mind went. It, I think it was she was a mystery for him to solve,
Mm.
and illusion was broken. He was like, okay, I'm done. I can't. I if you're not interesting to me, if I can't like analyze you, then I have no interest.
Yeah, and I think that character would agree with that because she says, "Guess what? Now I'll always be on your wall. I'll always be unsolved. You
Yeah.
will think of me forever."
Yeah, and almost asserting a kind of power over him that she knows
Definitely.
you'll never forget about me. Even
Oh
if
yeah.
20 years from now you're gonna like rock it up from your bed and think, "Oh, I didn't solve that." But yeah, as for Parkway, I think he did well. I think could have done a little bit more because there are some times where I think just a little bit more would have worked a little bit more for me
Mm.
because there are times where you're just thinking this guy has a blank expression on his face. What's going on? What is going on in that head of yours?
Yeah.
And you're just left there sitting there and you're just like, that is my thing buffering is
Right, right,
uh
right.
but no, but nevertheless, I enjoyed both performances, even though I think they do leave a little bit wanting from the
Mhm.
viewer. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I think actually this would make a good pairing with the Drive My Car, honestly. Uh,
Sure.
in the lexicon of wimpy performances. But yeah, other than that, gosh, I guess we have to get into the big thing.
Mhm.
What did you think about how did you specifically interpret the ending of the movie?
I'm not 100% honestly on her motivations. I think that there's like a little bit lost on me culturally on understanding the whole thing about her grandfather was a soldier and the possession of the mountain. That I felt like I was missing some cultural context to really understand. Like I get it, and I know that the movie is telling us something about these two different cultures coming together in her character. I do like how we have the whole broken communication between them throughout the movie,
Mm.
how they're communicating through translator apps. And towards the end there, she's speaking to him in Chinese and he's speak to me in Korean. I don't know what you're saying. And to us, I don't know about you, I don't speak Chinese or Korean. And so
I don't
I had no idea that she was speaking a different language at certain parts. But so I feel like the ending would have made more sense. I feel like that's the piece that I'm missing. I love the horror of the ending. Like I said, this is definitely the funniest movie of his that I have seen. I laughed a lot more. But when we come to the final sequence, it's just horrifying. It goes on a lot longer than I remember. Not that's a bad thing, but yeah, when I got to the last like 20-ish minutes, I checked the time and I was like, "Oh, wow. We're going to be at this beach for a long time." But yeah, I think it's a great tragic ending, and there's something very just like Greek tragedy about it.
Yeah.
Like burying yourself at the ocean while someone is essentially walking over your grave looking for you. It's yeah. I don't know that the execution for me like pulls you in
No.
as much as describing it sounds pretty horrible, and then watching it, it's a lot more slow and melancholic. But yeah, I thought it was good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was the cinematic equivalent of this is gonna be an audio engineering joke, so I apologize in advance, of a studio fade out is how it felt to
Yeah.
me.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
instead of a 5 to 10-second studio fade out, it's like a 20-minute studio
Yeah.
fade out where you're just like, "Okay, I get it," but,
Yeah.
like, this coulda yeah, I didn't get that either. Like, I felt like you said, like, I was missing something really important that and maybe that's the point. Maybe the point is that since we're with the detective for so long and in that mindset for most of the movie, that we're not supposed to know like, that critical piece, that, last 10%
Mm,
of why the detective doesn't know how it ends.
right. Yeah, yeah. But I will say it's one of my favorite endings from recent years. And whenever someone mentions Decision to Leave, I remember that ending. So,
Yeah, and yeah, it's part of the reason why I wanted to talk about it a year later, other than obviously the Criterion Collection thing, which I love that cover art, by the way. And but yeah, it, yeah, I really love this movie. It probably ended up in my top 20 of last year
hmm,
or something like that. I'd have to go look and verify, but because I watched over 200 films, so maybe it's in like the top 50.
right.
But yeah, it's definitely up there for me. I fully plan to once Old Boy Remastered is out or whatever you wanna call it, go back again to Decision to Leave and really
Mm,
just see it as a whole, as a piece of his filmography rather on than by its own, so I can maybe recognize some of the patterns from his other movies in this. And it's funny, we talked about it earlier, The Handmaiden. I was, like, literally 5 seconds away from watching that in 2019, but I forget what it was, but I just didn't hit play or something. I
sure.
forget what it was, but yeah, I definitely plan to do a marathon or whatever when that comes out. Are you gonna do that? Or are you gonna watch Old Boy Remastered again?
Yeah, I don't know why when it came to theaters, I think I didn't have time, or like I was gonna have time to see one movie that week, and there was one that I was gonna do for the show or something, and so it didn't happen. But Old Boy is not a movie that I revisit often. It's a phenomenal movie. You will understand when you see it.
Yeah, I
I
will
was gonna
say.
say his movie JSA, or Joint Security Area,
Uh-huh.
that's the one that I would pair with Decision to Leave the most, because you also get some really good humor, some tense situations, but it's about the joint security area between North and South Korea and the soldiers who are there at the border. And so you get more humor or insight into kind of Korean bureaucracy,
Hmm,
like you get a little bit here within the police department.
interesting. So, I guess one thing about Old Boy, I do have some spoilers that I
Mhm.
already like, because a movie that came out in 2004, obviously you're gonna get
It's
spoiled.
hard. Yeah.
So this is the question that's gonna make everyone squirm about Old Boy.
Yeah.
Do I also watch the Josh Brolin one?
You mean, do you also watch the Spike Lee one? But
Yes.
I'm a big fan of Spike Lee, real big fan of him. I think that when we talk about American masters, it should be Spike Lee, Martin Scorsese. You know what I mean? Like he's very
Mhm.
often not mentioned because he has a few that are not great. And Old Boy is one of those. So I would say no, honestly. I'm not
Okay.
big into telling people not to watch movies because there have been movies that I was told not to watch that when I finally watched them, I was like, this movie's amazing. What's wrong with you? What are you talking about? Like when I watched Showgirls for the first time, I was like, what is wrong with everybody? Come on, man. This movie rules. But having said all that, yeah, you can skip the Spike Lee Old Boy.
Oh, okay, good. I probably was going to anyways because I don't think I need the dynamics of some of the stuff that happens in the MCU. I've seen a certain scene from that movie
Sure.
with him and Elizabeth Olsen,
Yeah.
and
And that's also painful for me to not recommend Old Boy because I love Elizabeth Olsen. I love
yeah,
her in
same.
everything that I've seen her in. And honestly, her inclusion in the Marvel movies was like one of the reasons why I stayed watching Marvel movies for as long as I did. Because I was like, Elizabeth Olsen is great. These movies can't be that bad if she's in them. But yeah, it's just comparing the two. The original Old Boy is a triumph of filmmaking. And yeah, the other one isn't.
Yeah, yeah. She's WandaVision was what kept me going because I said
Yeah.
I was done with Endgame. I was done with the
Mhm.
MCU after Endgame, and then I was like, "Ooh, WandaVision looks cool. Ooh, Spider-Man: No Way Home looks cool."
Yeah.
And
WandaVision
then
was great. I still love WandaVision.
and now I'm trapped by the MCU. I'm just trapped. I'm watching
Yeah,
Loki season 2.
I I dropped off of the TV shows because I was like, oh, they're really not like anything that's going to connect these shows to the movies and to each other. I can literally read in like a 30-second summary. I did drop off of the TV shows. I'm looking forward to the Marvels. I like Brie Larson. I thought Kamala Khan is like maybe the most, what's the word, charismatic
Mhm.
character since Tony Stark. And that is what these movies are like desperately lacking. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it, but I yeah, I think I'll keep it at
Yeah.
that. I'll say this, Eternals is my favorite Marvel movie since Endgame, so that might tell you something about how
Okay,
I
yeah.
feel about Marvel movies.
Yeah, I think, Guardians was mine.
Yeah, yeah, that was good. The end of Guardians 3 had me crying like a baby.
Same,
Yeah,
same. I even did so in my, Patreon commentary.
yeah, it's good.
But with that said, yeah, I just wanna thank you for coming on and talking with me about a decision to leave. It's so cool to get to talk to guests week like 2 or 3 times a week from my perspective,
Sure.
and then to see how people react to it. It has been really cool. But yeah, thank you for coming on.
Of course. It's always cool to talk to someone somewhat face to face after
Yeah,
following each
somewhat.
other for a long time.
And speaking of following each other, where can people follow you on social media?
Sure. So the best thing to do is just follow the podcast.
Okay.
So Movie Friends Podcast at Instagram, Movie Friends Pod on Twitter, and then my personal Twitter is OH Sethi, Sethy, O Sethi on Twitter. And I love talking about movies with anyone, anytime. You can DM me. We can talk about movies. You can
Yeah.
comment on anything. The whole audience participation is a huge part of our podcast. We like base our whole episode structure off of it. And so we love interacting with people. My co host, Michelle, she always says friendship is my favorite thing. And while movies are my favorite thing, friendship is my second favorite thing.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll make sure to follow your podcast, both on Patreon and on socials, which actually has me thinking of an idea where maybe I should do I don't know. I feel like I should be doing the podcast as its own special separate account.
I because I had my personal account first,
Mhm.
that's why I made the stuff for the podcast. And then also it's just easier to keep track of. And there's things that I want to say from my personal that I wouldn't say from the show, and kind of vice versa. Like
Yeah.
I'll retweet when the podcast says, "Hey, a new episode is out." But for me, like I hate spamming people that I follow with the fact that I do a podcast, which
Yeah.
you should never be ashamed of self-promotion, but it's I want to keep some semblance that I'm a real human being that isn't just like interacting with people so that they'll follow my show. And yeah, so
Yeah. But with that said, and I do feel that, like, whenever I send my tweets over to our group chats, I'm like, "Oh."
what though, as long as you still have that little thing inside of your brain and inside of your heart that's going, ooh, that's how you haven't gone off the deep end.
Enter code Factor 75.
Yeah.
No, I don't have a Factor sponsorship, and that's actually a real Factor code.
Sure.
So I guess use it. But for now, you can follow me on social media at Austin B Media on, let's get the whole list: Blue Sky, Facebook,
Hmm.
Instagram, Mastodon, and Pebble, which I just
Whoa.
learned today is shutting down.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so for not much
Follow
longer,
Austin quickly on
yeah,
Pebble before you can't.
probably by the time this episode is out, it'll be shut down.
Wow.
But what isn't going away anytime soon is Threads. We're also at Austin B Media on the platform formerly known as Twitter, X. You can follow me at Austin B Media _ because the brain dead bird app won't let me take somebody else's username
Got it.
for whatever reason, even though that account got deactivated. But whatever. I talk about it every episode. I'm not mad. You're mad. And then on Letterboxd, I'm on there at Austin B Movies. But with that said, thank you all for listening or watching the Austin B Media podcast. I've been your host, Austin Belzer. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to either the YouTube channel if you're watching there, or the podcast, and leave a rating or review on your favorite podcast app if that's available in your app. I think Spotify, Apple Podcasts are the two places you can do it. But with that said, until next time.